Ever since chapter 395 of One Piece, there has been one mystery so intrinsically connected to the truth of the Void Century. During Nico Robin's flashback, we hear about this enormous ancient kingdom for the very first time. The name of the kingdom is what we're here to discuss today. After all, this name is why Professor Clover was shot, and before he could even expose the truth to the world, the Gorosei's fear had silenced him. Today, I will present to you with 4 possible names for the ancient kingdom. I have another theory that the ancient kingdom may be the One Piece itself, but I'll save that for its own video. Today, the 4 possible names that we are discussing is the Gold Kingdom, the Treasure Kingdom, the Pirate Kingdom, and the reason you most likely clicked on the video, the Roger Kingdom. And all of these names have some kind of similarities to it. The Treasure and Gold Kingdom are very similar, and then the Pirate and Roger Kingdom also very similar with a few key differences. So if you do like these more speculative One Piece videos, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video. When it comes to the name of the ancient kingdom, we must understand that the name itself held great weight and value. If anyone found out the true name, it could cause an uproar even today. And now let me read you a few of the quotes that got Clover blasted by the government. If the world government happened to be the enemy of the people who were annihilated, we can conclude that the 100-year void contains a history that was inconvenient to the world government and hence was erased. After reading the ancient manuscripts and the few poneglyphs that have been found, we've gradually discovered the existence of a nation, of which no trace remains. What is clear from these manuscripts is the existence of an immense kingdom. It appears that they once had enormous power, but all information has been erased. It's likely that these people understood that they would be destroyed by this alliance of nations, later called the world government, and carved the truth out of their existence on the pieces of stone. They survive to this day. They are known as the poneglyphs. History will reveal that the very existence and idea of the kingdom is in fact what the world government finds so threatening. We still don't know the nature of this threat, but the key is the ancient kingdom that once thrived and its name was... And then they shoot him before he's even able to announce it. The Gorosei knew that Clover had figured out the truth. They even say that Ohara had learned too much. So to summarize this, the kingdom was enormous, successful, and the very existence, the very ideology of this kingdom is what the government finds so threatening. The name is a huge clue to the Void Century, and they were the enemy of the Celestial Dragons and the world government. Now with all that in mind, let's start out with the first name, the Gold Kingdom. In my recent Skypiea and Wano's connection video, I discussed the most interesting connections between the two nations. We have Wano, who was known as the Land of Gold, and Shandora, the City of Gold. I speculated that they were once one and the same, or at the very least the Shandorans and the Kozuki clan were allies in the past. I recommend checking out that video because I don't feel like rehashing every single piece of evidence that shows Shandora and Wano were once the same nation. We learn in Wano about a legendary samurai named Ryuma who lived centuries ago during a time when Wano was known as the Land of Gold. Yukimaru said that pirates and the world nobles lusted after it. Ryuma was the one who protected Wano from these people attempting to invade in search of legendary treasures. And I also speculated that Ryuma lived before the Void Century or maybe around that era because he was the man who changed Wano from the Land of Gold culture into samurai culture, inspiring the entire nation and kickstarting a new era in Wano. He was most likely the god of the sword because he was the very first swordsmaster or the first samurai, a true legend, and Hiyori explains the importance of Shusui and what it holds to the people of Wano, and I believe this is why. So in a way, their entire culture was instilled from this one man. His lifestyle and his legacy is ever present within Wano, and his will being inherited and passed on throughout the generations. So if you combine this with the idea that they were connected to Shandora, if you look at Shandora and the time that they ruled, at the peak of Shandora's history, it was 1100 years ago or 300 years before the Void Century began. So the era of Golden Wano may have been for the hundreds of years the ancient kingdom ruled until their downfall after the Void Century. I think it is very possible that Wano and Shandora were both countries within the ancient kingdom. This also comes from the idea that when Oden found the One Piece, he found out the reason why Wano used to be open and now has closed its borders. The Kozuki clan created the poneglyphs and the Shandorans had the ancient writing throughout the temples of their ancient cities. With the information from Big Mom of how some of the One Piece or some important information regarding the One Piece is in Wano, Oda has started to point at a much more clear picture for us. I believe that when we arrive at Raftel, we will see the kingdom and the castle of where Joy Boy ruled. The One Piece itself, like I said, could be the ancient kingdom. Raftel could be the one piece that connects everything as far as Zunisha, Joy Boy, the Kozuki clan, and the Shandorians as well. And let's not forget about the Fishmen. Because the Kozuki clan and the Minks were connected, Joy Boy is now involved with Zunisha, and then you have the Shandorians and the Kozuki as well. I believe that all these clans were allies and once of Joy Boy's ancient kingdom. Clover specifically said an immense kingdom, no trace was left. But with the poneglyphs, they discovered that the ancient kingdom existed, and think about Shandora. Kalgara would fight off anyone who would try to enter his island. In other words, they were hostile and had closed borders as well. Similarly with Wano, we have closed borders and is waiting for a certain figure. With Zunisha and Zo, these people are also secluded from the world. And think about it, if all these different people, all these different countries, and all these different nations are coming together and forming one immense, enormous kingdom, this would truly be a powerful force to be reckoned with. If I am right about Ryuma living so far back to at least 800 years ago or even further, this would prove that there were pirates back then. And remember this, because I will bring up the possibility of the pirate and Roger kingdoms later in the video, and this does matter. As for the world nobles going after Wano, it's interesting because it shows that they did care about Wano, they did want to go after Wano, but they were never able to conquer it. Since the Kozukis were the first ones who created the poneglyphs, I would say it is fair that they are protecting the history of the ancient kingdom. And so what is the importance of a country of gold? Well, if Goldie Roger said that he left his treasure in that place, it would make sense that there is a vast amount of treasure, considering that that's what Oda and Roger had hinted at. This is a pirate manga after all, so to simplify it into a pirate treasure would be the fair answer. And I'm sure finding the One Piece will involve so many other things. Like Odin said, it will involve the ancient weapons, the ancient kingdom. Roger achieved it all: wealth, fame, and power. The power is probably from his raw strength alone, but also from his allies and maybe even the ancient weapons. The fame is obvious. As the pirate king, Roger is known as the most famous pirate in the entire world. If the ancient kingdom was known as the Kingdom of Gold, then there is no doubt that Roger will be set for life after discovering the truth of the One Piece and the ancient kingdom. I think it would also be just fitting that Goldie Roger, the man who wrote his name on the City of Gold, the man whose name is a play on the word gold itself, how perfect would it be for Goldie Roger to leave behind a landmass of gold? The ideals of a rich kingdom would be a massive problem for the celestial dragons, because in a world of pirates, of course these riches would equivalent to power in most cases. And why would the government fear this being spoken and discovered? Well, if it did come out to the public that the ancient kingdom of gold existed, every pirate would spend their entire life attempting to find it. Just look at the influence of Roger in the One Piece. There would be people flocking and gold rushing, just like Yukimaru said happened in the past to Wano. So if the reality of a gold kingdom being revealed, then the person who found it would also be discovering the truth of the Void Century in the process, giving a motivation to pirates to go after the Void Century history, to go after the ancient weapons. It is a very dangerous situation for the government, and this is essentially what Roger did, because he told them that the treasure would be all in one place. Erasing its very name is something that is necessary unless the government wants every pirate to dedicate their lives to finding out the truth and what happened. But with this idea of the Gold Kingdom, we have a similar idea with a treasure island or a great kingdom of treasure. For example, if Wano was known as the land of gold, then the other nations that were a part of this kingdom may have been based off of the treasure. I think this may be possible for a few reasons, because treasure seems to be a much more vague and ideal-driven name that has many themes within the story. If you look at the City of Gold Shandora, that could have been one piece of the Treasure Kingdom, and so the One Piece could be the most important piece, the most valuable treasure. If the One Piece and the City of Gold are connected in some way, then the Emerald City may have been a part of this Treasure Kingdom as well. The One Piece treasure may have been where Joy Boy lived. For example, the Emerald City could have been another ally, and a treasure doesn't have to stop there, because Wano is also known for Sea Prism Stone, and there was also once Amigasa Village, a Straw Hat village, which according to Luffy, his Straw Hat is his treasure. And a known existence of a treasure kingdom would once again reinforce everyone to search for it and seek its treasure. Doing this will undoubtedly lead them to the secret of the Void Century, and One Piece also makes it clear that treasure can be something as simple as a family according to Whitebeard. So the ideology of a treasure kingdom could be where all treasures are found, a more personal treasure like with Luffy, or a more literal treasure like with Nami. It truly prosperous and powerful nation of diverse ideas, home to riches and freedom, somewhere where you can openly seek out any dream that you have. The treasure for Chopper would be medicine that can cure any disease. For Robin, the treasure would be to find all these different things that prove the ancient history in the Void Century. For Frankie, you could find the greatest wood, the greatest materials to build ships and to build battleships. And for Zora, you could have a swordsman treasure where the greatest swords and the greatest swordsmen existed, a nation of the best and the most powerful people, while also having a treasure for anyone who comes along. There has to be a reason why Goldie Roger specifically decided that he wanted to live in Joy Boy's era. Odin wrote in his journal that he learned the entire truth of the world, the Void Century, the people of the D, the ancient kingdoms, and in the past Wano was open to the world. In the face of that vast treasure, which was real indeed, Roger just laughed. So reinforcing a vast treasure. So is it a literal treasure, a more sentimental treasure, or what if it's just a kingdom of all treasures? But even with the Gold Kingdom and the Treasure Kingdom, I think there is one name that makes way more sense than than those, and that is a pirate kingdom, and one that I like even better than that, a Roger kingdom. So let's start out with the pirate kingdom. I recently made a video discussing the overturning of power that will come towards the end of the series. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description. Let's start with a quote by Doflamingo that foreshadows the future, but more importantly, it explains the truth of the past, a time before the celestial dragons had ruled. Pirates are evil, the Marines are righteous. These terms have been always changing throughout the course of history. Kids who never seen peace and kids who never seen war have different values, and those who stand atop determine what's right and what's wrong. This very place is neutral ground. Justice will prevail, you say? But of course it will. Whoever wins the war will become justice. I want to key on one specific line because these terms have always changed throughout the course of history. Doflamingo implies how the Marines and the pirates have swapped the role of power in the past multiple times. The Marines are righteous only because they are holding power in the current era, and it's likely that in the past, pirates were the ones who were in power. I explained how I believe that there were pirates in the past because of Ryuma protecting Wano from these pirates. If the pirates and the Marines have always been at war, it's possible that a kingdom of pirates, one had massive power and success hundreds of years ago. This could be where the term pirate king comes from. A pirate paradise where people from all around the world had respected the true pirate king, possibly Joy Boy. Marshall D. Teach, or Blackbeard, is a man who studies history, and he created a pirate paradise at Fulalet Island. You might even say that Rox was the first one who did it and he's just carrying on his will. The Marines want global domination, but the Pirate King would be, as Luffy says, the freest man to roam the seas. And these ideologies directly oppose each other in a way that the government or the world nobles had realized the only way to maintain power and achieve global domination would be to make the lifestyle of a pirate a crime and make sure it is frowned upon by society, because true freedom is a massive problem that directly contradicts what the Marines are trying to achieve. The most powerful pirates are not going to care about the prestige of a celestial dragon. Showcasing this disrespect and free will against laws and rules and normal societal constructs is something that would be a danger for a controlled society. In many ways, knowing about the pirate kingdom's existence ties in similarly to having the idea of a treasure being there, because where there is a pirate king, he has to have a treasure. But more importantly, a true pirate ideology is true freedom. And the ideals of freedom are a dangerous way to live because they inspire rebellion against the government. Imagine an era where pirates had more pull and influence on the world than the Marines and the celestial dragons. A pirate kingdom this massive would fit perfectly with the themes and the concept of One Piece. And when Roger says he wishes he could live in Joy Boy's era, maybe it's because Joy Boy lived when a pirate was accepted. A land when people are incentivized to explore, conquer, and roam freely, a true pirate paradise. But speaking of Goldie Roger, let's move on to my favorite choice, the Roger Kingdom. Let's face it guys, Oda loves to play with irony and leave a mystery to be something so simple yet so important. I said it before that with the Pirate Kingdom, this era that Joy Boy lived in was a time when Roger wished he could have been there and seen it for himself. I think this is the key to the truth of the Ancient Kingdom. How ironic and how poetic would it be for the Ancient Kingdom to have been called the Roger Kingdom? After all, the entire story was kickstarted on Goldie Roger's legendary death. This man was the first person to step on Raft Tail in 800 years. So once again, it would be so fitting for the Roger Pirates to be the ones to discover the truth of the Roger Kingdom. When Goldie Roger first sets out to his journey and meets Riley, he says let's turn the world upside down, but more importantly he says that it's destiny that they met there that day. Goldie Roger was destined to find the truth about the world, to find the truth about the One Piece, and Riley even admits that they were destined, and he does believe that there are no coincidences. When we look at how Roger cried and laughed, it was the most emotional moment for him, and Wano being open to the world may have been because the pirate paradise was open to anyone willing to join the culture of pirates. Joy Boy, or the king of the pirates, or the Roger Kingdom would have been someone so respected by every pirate that they wanted to live out his legacy. And so Wano closed off when the Pirate Kingdom had lost war. They are waiting for the next man who has the potential to become the new pirate king, Luffy. Sengoku says that you have to know your history before you predict the future, and we hear about the legendary prophesized war from Whitebeard. This is what the Marines fear the most, and I believe that's because it happened before. They are afraid of losing and the entire world being turned upside down into a pirate paradise once again. If Luffy is the miracle man, then that is definitely a problem if he is fighting in a war at his true potential. Luffy also has an ability to bring people with him, to rile up countries, and to fight against their oppressors. He also has an unwavering attraction that brings brings in people that are important against the world government. I truly believe that Joy Boy also had these abilities. So when Whitebeard is saying directly to Sengoku, a fleet admiral's biggest worry is a world with no control, a world run by pirates. If history truly does repeat itself according to Sengoku, then we can expect a battle between people who side with the Celestial Dragons and the pirates in the final arc of One Piece. So I would expect something extremely similar to happen in the past. So exactly what would the king of the pirates find so amazing that he would want to live in that era? Something that brought a man to cry and laugh, and of course it would be an era where pirates reign supreme. Roger is the most piratey man in the entire world of One Piece. He is the pirate king and his soul belongs in the pirate era. He is carrying on the will of the previous generation, and long before he began his journey to become the pirate king, he always wanted to flip the world upside down. I believe that Roger realized that his dream was to always create the world that Joy Boy lived in. So what does Roger do before he dies? He discovers the truth and kickstarts the One Piece. The final moment before he died launched the Great Pirate Era. And in this, Roger became a man so despicable to the world government. Their biggest fear had come back to haunt them. Roger knew exactly what he was doing, and since he was on his deathbed, his greatness had inspired them to find the One Piece. A man known for wealth, fame, and power. What true pirate would not want to carry on the will of Roger? He found out the truth and did what he could to honor his ancestors of the D clan in the previous era that Joy Boy lived in. These giant ships like the warship Pluton or the Noah may have been the previous ships of the Joy Boy's fleet in the past. Massive pirate ships for a massive kingdom. We even know that the Noah was meant to be used after the war. I think it's one thing to keep in mind the absolute insanity of Goldie Roger. Think about how Luffy is smiling as he's fighting against Kaido. The higher the stakes, the more excited he gets. Luffy is not sane, and you have to be absolutely delusional and have a crazed optimism to do what Luffy and Roger want to achieve. What if Roger and Luffy's dreams was to create a pirate kingdom? So what does the name Roger mean and why is it so important? Well, there are a few reasons. I've established that the entire premise of One Piece began with Roger's final words. That's how the manga begins, and that's how the anime begins as well. But did you know that in the very first volume of One Piece, we learn about the Jolly Roger and his origins? This page is the most important bit of information for this idea that the ancient kingdom could be the Roger Kingdom. So let me break some of this down for you. First, we have the skull and crossbones, and Oda says that the pirate flag is generally called the Jolly Roger and is a symbol of death. There are many theories concerning the origins of the terms Jolly Roger. If you look at Wano, we have the Fire Festival where they honor and respect the dead. Could it be that the Jolly Roger has some kind of connection to the ancient kingdom? And then we go on to what Oda says about there being many theories concerning the origins of the term Jolly Roger. And then he picks a few of these theories, and I think it's interesting when you realize what they relate to. The two that I want to focus on is the first one is Roger. It was originally the word for Roge, meaning thief or villain. But then we have people who say it came from the word Old Roger, which was a name for the devil. So first, I think it's interesting that you have Roger and Roge, two Will of D members who were both criminals and villains to the world government. They even had a child together, so I think it's perfect that Oda put Roger and Roge together, because their names essentially mean the same thing. But Old Roger sounds an awful lot like Gold Roger, a name for the devil. Think about how the world government perceives Goldie Roger. To the Marines, he is the ultimate villain. He is the equivalent of the devil in their eyes. Anyone who remotely associates with the man will be suspicious. I mean, just look at how they treated Tom for aiding the man in his journey. If you consider that the Jolly Roger represents both devils and pirates and villains, we can look a little bit further, because to the Marines, the pirates are the villains of this world. One Piece is based off pirates, but do you ever consider where the Jolly Roger came from in the One Piece world? I mentioned that it could have been coming from the ancient kingdom. The biggest theme of One Piece is inherited will. So what if I told you that every pirate sailing proudly with their Jolly Roger was honoring Joy Boy's will? We also have celestial dragons who consider themselves gods of the world. Those who step against their ideals are deemed devils. And Roger, who was the king of the pirates, had committed a crime of discovering the ancient weapons and avoid century history. So if Nico Robin is a demon child, then of course Goldie Roger is the devil himself. We also see how in the very beginning of the story, characters like Zoro, they were called demons. demons. Sanji even had that time in Ina's lobby, says how demons created the spices. And then we have Luffy, the man with the devil's luck. He is carrying on Ace and Roger's will, and the man who was the natural enemy of the gods. How many times have we seen Luffy fight against godly-like figures? We have Eneru, we have the Celestial Dragons, we have Charlos, Doflamingo, we even have Kaido, who represents a god in Wano. If what Doflamingo is hinting at this world have been truly changing between pirates and marines, I think it's safe to say that the Roger Kingdom, I think it would check all the boxes as far as inherited will, something that the government fears, and the natural enemy of the gods all in one. Because pirates are devils in their eyes. The will of D may stand for devil, and this is a theory that has been around for a while. So when you are raising a Jolly Roger for the first time, you may be declaring yourself as a devil or the enemy of the gods. And I just love the idea of the irony of Roger finding the Roger Kingdom, because when Riley says you'll come to a different conclusion than us, it would make so much sense. They were the Roger pirates, so of course they would be emotional, laughing and crying, but with Luffy and his crew, the word Roger would mean nothing to them. Oden and Roger specifically loved it the most, saying that they're burning from excitement even after leaving the island. Now finally, I want to bring back Professor Clover's statements before he got shot. If the world government happened to be the enemy of the ancient kingdom, the people who were erased from history, if this is a continuation of pirates and marines, the Roger Kingdom will make so much sense as they are the direct enemy of the marines. Think about the revolutionaries, because Dragon claims that the enemy is not the marines but instead the celestial dragons. Revolutionaries are very similar to pirates, and some may even say that they are pirates, but they do have their differences. Really, any criminal who goes against these people are hoisting their Jolly Rogers proudly. Even the revolutionaries have their own Jolly Roger. The very existence and the idea of a Roger Kingdom is a problem for the government. With the names like Gold or Treasure, a legendary pirate kingdom, or a Roger Kingdom, it would be something that pirates all over the world flock to, as even if they heard of the rumors and its existence, they would go and look for it. Big names like Blackbeard, who lived a life of a pirate paradise, and Luffy, who wants to be the pirate king. These captains will have to see it for themselves. These figures are insane enough to search for it, so the only option was to erase it from history. And once again, a kingdom of all the world's pirates would be truly immense. One massive kingdom, and every country in it could have their own Jolly Roger, their own flag, and this could be where the tradition began. If you notice that the O'Hart incident happened after Roger's death, the great age of piracy had already begun. If the name of Roger's kingdom got out, this would reinforce the idea that Goldie Roger's endless vast treasure was somewhere out there. And even if it was just taken as a pirate kingdom and not Goldie Roger's kingdom, what pirate would not seek this out? If every pirate crew bearing a Jolly Roger instantly becomes the enemy of the government, then it's understandable how powerful and how important Roger's final moments were, because he influenced and inspired an entire generation of people to become pirates. This final moment changed the tides of the world and influenced the next generations to carry on where he left off. This battle of good versus evil, and whoever wins writes history and becomes the victor, they become the ones in power. Roger being destined to find the Roger Kingdom is one thing, and I made an entire 30-minute video about destiny and the meaning of the Straw Hat in One Piece, but with the context of the possibility that the ancient kingdom was called the Roger Kingdom, I find it interesting that if you look at the conversation between Riley and Roger after they discovered it, remember that Roger Kingdom would essentially mean the kingdom of devils or the kingdom of pirates. The dual meaning here would truly be the key to the themes and the reoccurring statements of the devils, because if Roger and his crew are laughing at it, but for Nico Robin, who can truly decode the riddle within it, she'll understand the truth. Riley even points us out that she will come to a different conclusion. So we could also focus on the Oni race here, because if the Oni race and the Lunarians once ruled over the ancient kingdom, then we have much more credible reason to believe that the Roger Kingdom may have existed, because the Onis being the devils and Lunarians being fallen angels. We know that Kaido has a distinct racism towards humans. He tells Yamato that she is a Oni race and that she should not trust humans. He even calls his crew the Beast Pirates, emphasizing the idea that they are not human. Everyone in Kaido's crew also wears the Oni or devil horns. We know there are many hints about the celestial dragons destroying and genociding the Lunarians, as they were once living on the red line similar to Mary Joy's. They were also gods at one point. And with all this talk about Zunisha being a former friend of Joy Boy, is becoming all the more likely that the ancient Onis were connected to the Void Century, because a massive Oris beast could be friends to Joy Boy or even be Joy Boy himself. And with the presence of the moon within Wano, Zou, and the Lunarians, it could fit right there as well. But at the end of the day, this is all just speculation. I think the Land of Gold or Treasure, or the Kingdom of Pirates, the Roger Kingdom, I think these are all possible names for the ancient kingdom. Something pirate related though. I think for a story like One Piece, a pirate manga where Luffy can live out his days after One Piece ends in a pirate kingdom and explore the endless treasures. Something that has a powerful ideology that inspires, and something that the government fears. What would the legendary most piratey character in all of fiction, Gold D. Roger, love more than a pirate kingdom itself? Something that made made him so excited that he wished he could have lived in that era. Something that was so necessary that the very idea and ideology of this kingdom had to be erased. The very name should not even be spoken. I believe that Roger discovered the truth of the Roger Kingdom, a great pirate kingdom to the allies of Joy Boy, a kingdom that carried on the will of D, or the will of the devils, the natural enemy of the Marines, and the natural enemy of the gods. Anyways guys, what do you think is the name of the ancient kingdom? Do you agree with me that it could have been the land of the gold, the land of the treasure, the kingdom of pirates, or the Roger Kingdom? I think Roger Kingdom does fit in the best with all the different themes, all the different concepts within One Piece, and does fit the story the best. Ever since I read the backstory of Robin, it's always been bugging me to know the true name of this kingdom. If you have a better idea of what this name could have been, let me know in the comments. Let's get the discussion going. But anyways guys, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. If you are new to the channel, subscribe because I have plenty of One Piece content planned. I have another Goldie Roger video on the way. We will be continuing part 3 of the Golden Foreshadowing series, and I'm already at 1,500 subscribers. Thank you guys, it means so much for all the support recently. So with all that being said, stay safe and have a great day.